Hi, this is Kevin Trainer. Welcome to part two of the tutorial for the migrations coding assignment. That's part of the Easy University tutorial project. In part two, what we're going to be doing is a classic data migration. Okay. The two kinds of changes that you can do in the database with a migration are: one, you can change the structure of the database. You can change the schema. And two, you can change the data. You can either add that data or you can remove data. Okay. Now you can do both in the same. You can do both in the same migration, and we're eventually going to do that, but not now. Here we're going to learn the simple one, which is the data migration. All right. All right. So let's take a look at that. Let's go to our project and run manage Pi. Ask it to do a show migrations. And we can see that for course info, let's give ourselves a little bit more room. We can see that for course info, that we've got three migrations. I'm not going to say 0001 anymore. I'm just going to call it migration 1, migration 2, migration 3. So we can see you've got three migrations. They're numbered 1 through 3, and they're all applied. And that's about where we were at the end of part 1. Okay, so this migration that we're going to do is that one that we can automatically generate like we did before. Not exactly. It's going to have a bunch of custom code. But what we can do is we can get the manage.py to create the shell of the migration program for us. So how would we do that? We would say make migrations, and then we would give the name of the app, course info, and then we're going to say we want it to be empty, so dash dash empty, and we want to give it a name, so it's dash dash name space and then the name. And it's going to take care of the numbering. We just need to give it the rest of the name. So let's call it semester data, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to add some data to the semester. All right. Okay. And you can see up here that it created a migration for us, number 4 semester data. Let's just open that up. Okay, so this is the shell. We'll get back to that in a minute. Let's just go check what data we already have in it. So let's do a run server. All right, and pop up our application and go to semesters. And we've got all three semesters are already populated for 2018. We've got the spring of 2019 already up. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to add the last two semesters of 2019 and then all three of them for 2020, so that when we get done, we're going to have 3 semesters each for 3 years, or 9 entries. Right now we've only got 4, so we're going to be adding 5. Okay, so let's go create the code to do that. Okay. One of the nice things about having used I'm going to stop the developments over here. One of the nice things about having used manage at Pi to create the shell of this migration is it's properly named. It's properly put on the chain of the migration. So this is a migration 4, and if you look, it is linked to migration 3, which is the previous one on the chain. And then we have these operations. We don't have the operations ourselves yet, but let's copy that operations code from my previously baked version, and you'll see what we're going to do. All right, let's make this a little bigger. Okay. All right, so you'll see that this does one operation. Okay, it's called a run Python operation. A typical thing that we do for these data migrations. And we identify two functions. Now, the reason that they're underlined is we haven't added the code for them yet. The first one is the code for add. It's called add semester data. The second one is the code for remove. It's called remove semester data. Remember that I told you that these migrations need to work both forward and backward. And so when they're running forward, they do the first one, so they'll run add semester data. And when they're running backward, when they're unapplying the migration, they'll run remove semester data. So this entry is what controls the two parts, the forward and the backward. And then, of course, we just have to implement the forward and the backward code to make that actually work. Okay. Now, let's add some more code. Alrighty. So we're going to add some more code here. And we're going to put it up here. So it's not going to be part of the migration class. Okay. It's going to come before it. It's going to be used by the migration class. And not surprisingly, we have add semester data and remove semester data. Okay. And these are pretty straightforward pieces of code. Now, I just want to say, so when we're running it forward, we're going to run add semester data. When we're running it, when we're unapplying it or running it in reverse, remove semester data. Okay. Now, this uses a data structure. It's a list of dictionaries. Okay, it's a list of one-entry dictionaries as it currently it exists. Okay, so when I did this the last time, I guess I didn't have the summer of oh, yes, I did. This is fine. So we want to add 5. Summer, fall, spring. I'm sorry, summer and fall 2019, and then spring, summer, and fall 2020. So we want to add all 5 of these. So they're dictionaries. We're saying that what we're trying to populate is the semester name, and the value we're trying to populate it with is 2019 summer. And I just noticed that because this is older code in which I was using double quote marks, I have double quote marks in here. And I'm going to change these all to apostrophes, because certainly Python can tolerate them both. The Django CRAD likes the apostrophes. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to pause and go change those, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've got that done. So you see, I don't have the double quotes around those things. Now, I'm trying to do them all one way. I think that's a good practice. So, this approach, okay, is one that I really copied from the Pinkham book. So he's got a very good example of a data migration, and he does the same thing. He creates a data structure in the top of the program, which holds the initialization data for each of the rows that he wants to add. Okay, and he does this by creating. This is a variable. It's in all caps because we don't expect it to change. So one of the conventions of Python is with your naming to name these constants that are not going to change, to name them in all caps. So regular variables that you intend to change are in lowercase with underscores between the words, and these constants are in uppercase with underscores between the words. There's no significance to Python. All right, it doesn't keep you from changing the value of these things over the life of the program. This is just a good practice in terms of documenting to yourself or to the other people who come to maintain the code that it's the programmer's intention that this be a non-changing data structure. Okay, so we have that, and we have one dictionary on the list for each of the rows we intend to create. Because we have the semester name is the only real data that we need to add, we don't particularly care about what the primary key is. Okay, we're going to add the semester name, and we'll just get back whatever primary key it's going to give us. Okay. Okay, so what happens in add semester data? Well, first of all, we're past two things. We're past this apps object, which we're going to need in order to get some other objects, and a schema editor, which we don't use here because, as I understand it, we're not changing the structure of the database. Okay? So what's the first thing that we need to do? Well, we need to get a reference to the model class for the model class that we're working with. And because we want to distinguish between the version that is in the Django model and the version that is out in the external database, we actually get it in a special way. So we call apps get model, okay, and we give it the name of our app, and we give it the name of our model class. And this retrieves the model class for us. So we have it in a variable that has the likely name of semester model class. And then we're going to go through that data structure that we created that has the initialization data for the semesters. And so we say for semester and semesters, so we're going to go through each item on the list. And then what we're going to do is we say that we want to create a semester object. So we use the semester model class, and we call objects create on it. and then we pass it semester name, and then semester, and semester name is the name of the field. Okay? So what happens here is that this is what it uses, this field is what it uses to look up the value in the dictionary. Well, there's only one entry, but this is a general approach, okay? We can use this when there are 4 or 5 or 10 entries. So it looks this up and it goes, oh, he wants to use this. He wants to pull this value here out. Okay, now, again, it's a sort of overkill for this one field table, but it's a general approach that we're going to use for all of them. So we're actually going to do it. Okay, so that's how we add the semester data. We are walking through the data structure up here, and we're adding it all. Okay. Now, what about remove? Well, it's kind of a corollary, right? Okay, so we have to get addressability to the same model class. So we do that with the same code. So we have that in semester model class. And then again, we say for semester and semesters. And now what we're going to do is that we are going to get each of these objects and we're going to delete them. Okay, so what up here was a create in the add code becomes a get in the remove code. Okay, and then we pass it the same key information. Okay, so we are retrieving the same data object that we stored up in the add code. Okay, and then now that we retrieved it, we call delete on it, and we delete it. Okay, so we're going to run this, and this is going to run. I just want to point out that for this to work both forward and backwards, in between the time you run it forward and the time you run it backwards, you can't have gotten rid of the data that you're trying to back out. So for instance, if we add these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we go into our application, we go, oh yeah, we've got 5 of these in the application. All right, that's fine. If we go and we delete one in the application and then we go to back this out, this is going to blow up on us. Okay? So to the extent that you create these migrations that can go forward and backwards, the assumption is that you're doing it for things that are going to be pretty stable. Okay? So if in fact you have to back this out, you wouldn't have deleted any of the 5 semesters that we added in the meantime. Okay? All right. So let's run this. Okay? So let's do show migrations. Show migrations. And there we go. Migration 4. I said I'm not going to do the OOOs anymore. Migration 4 has not been applied. So let's apply it. Okay? So we're going to say migrate. Course info, the name of the app. 0004. You do have to put the O's there. And then let's press enter. And it says it applied migration 4 OK. That's what you want to look for. That's it ran OK. All right, let's go out. Let's start up the development server with a run server. Let's go out and look at the application, and let's click on the semesters list. And there they are. They're all there. So we have all 3 semesters in 2018, 2019, and 2020. Okay, let's just prove to ourselves that we've written a proper migration because can we back it out? It's not a proper migration unless it can be reversed or unapplied. All right, let's close this. Let's stop the development server. Okay. Show migrations. You can see that 4 is applied. Okay. And let's just say, well, we want to go to 3. So how do you go back to 3? Well, migrate course info 0003. And it says it's unapplying migration 4. Okay, well, how can we tell if that actually happened? Well, let's run the development server again. And let's look at semester list. And those 5 new semesters are gone. Okay, now we do want them added. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Let's stop the development server. And let's do show migrations again. And you can see that we haven't applied migration 4. So let's apply it. Migrate course info 0004. And there it is. It's applied. And so we're just going to run the server and prove to ourselves that we've really done it. All right, good. And now, what would you want to do this for? Well, I think you might want to do this for tables that are kind of part of the infrastructure, okay? If in fact you need to generate a lot of data just to populate some structural tables, okay, that are kind of part of the definition and setup of the system, putting them into a data migration is a great idea. If you ever have to back up and you have to build this database on another server like your production server, well, you're going to want to be able to build these kind of infrastructure table values pretty automatically when you go to your production server. So having this kind of a data migration is a really handy thing to have. Okay? And we'll see a little bit more of this before we're done with the course. All right, so that's it for part 2. There is no corresponding one for you to do. So you're ready to move on to part 3. I'll see you in part 3.